Hello, everybody. This is Lex Stefano, and I'm the communications director for the Washington Hospitality Association. I also work with a number of folks on helping with their communications efforts. And I'm joined today by Jim Derlin, who I've worked with for, goodness, about a couple decades now, when I was the vice president of communications for the Association of Washington Business. Jim was the membership director that basically turned things around. The AWB was the main business association in the state, and it continues to be for as the state chamber of commerce. But we were struggling with consistency in our membership efforts. And I remembered, Jim, you just came right in, made some drastic changes, and really turned things around culturally. The way associations view getting and retaining members, your philosophy on mission first, all of those things have resonated. And then we've gone on, we've continued to be friends even after AWB. And then Jim went on and helped us also at the Washington Hospitality Association. So, Jim, you've worked with associations, Chamber of Commerce, other organizations throughout the United States for decades. So with that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself then?
Yeah, well, appreciate that, Lex. It's obviously been a fun ride. I have experienced, as I think most of us have, more changes in the past year and a half to 2 years than probably the previous 10 combined. So, quite a few challenges facing our sector moving forward. But the flip side of that is what an amazing opportunity. This is a chance for us to really progress and move forward and evolve our organizations for the next decade to come. So, just a really great time to be in the business.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, we always hear the whole old saying of whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think that holds true for businesses and associations and nonprofits alike. Can you give us some good examples of some businesses really turning it around, even though this has been a very challenging year for the vast majority of businesses?
So, Lex, you say businesses. Are you referring to the members we represent, or more so the organizations?
More of the organizations.
Yeah, and this is where I guess I'd make the comparison with any other type of company out there in any other sector. You're going to have those that have excelled and adjusted and adapted and are moving forward in a very positive way. And then you have those that haven't adjusted or made the necessary changes to thrive in this new environment, that are falling behind, or for that matter, falling by the wayside. But I go back to what I mentioned a few minutes ago. From an organizational standpoint, I don't think we have ever been more appreciated in terms of what we do and how we serve our members than we are right now. We're more relevant than we have ever been. And that's applicable to Chamber of Commerce's, trade groups, trade associations. And I guess what I'm fearful of with quite a few organizations out there is they're reverting and going back to doing things the exact same way that they did them 2 years ago, which in my opinion is a recipe for disaster. Sure, we can embrace and move forward with some of the things that we have always done, our strengths, if you will. But from a membership, certainly a recruitment and a retention standpoint, everything's changed. How we approach potential new members, how we recruit them, how we inspire them. I jokingly say it's not just a new chapter, it's a new book. And for those that are embracing those changes and moving forward and staying open-minded, are the ones that are going to continue to thrive moving forward.
So that leads us to something that I think that you mentioned indirectly there, with how businesses respond to associations. And it seems like the associations who have taken a leadership role during this pandemic and have given them the information that they need, have fought tooth and nail in the legislature and all of those things. That's the stuff that makes members for life. You've always talked about mission first. What is the best way for associations to leverage that mission philosophy when there comes a time, because there will be a time where people start forgetting about this year, and making sure that they sow the seeds early on so that they really are members for life?
And that's such a great point, because memories are short-lived. This is the time, this is the window of opportunity to seize the moment, if you will, and to take advantage of all that goodwill that we have created over the past year. Members and non-members alike have benefited tremendously from our information, from the rally point, if you will, for the business community. And as we're all aware, attention spans are short right now, and so are memories. So this is truly the time to take advantage of that, because you're right. In 6 months, a year, nobody knows when, and it will fade over time. Those very same business leaders are going to have a new crisis to deal with, whether it's internal within their operations, or hopefully not as macro as the recent pandemic, but there's always going to be something that takes away their time and attention. So the membership professionals, the frontline membership representatives right now are truly seizing that moment, and they're rebuilding their organization with quality members. And that's a term I use quite often, because it differentiates all of those other members who tend to be opportunistic. And there's an interesting piece of data that took me years to collect, and it's based on several different organizations, but 84% of the businesses that call us up to join, so they call us, they email us, or they even join on the website, 84% of those drop after the first year. 93% statistically drop within 3 years. So while I'm certainly not suggesting that we don't accept call-ins and organic members, but we have to really go out of our way to identify and recruit those business leaders that oftentimes they don't need anything from us. They don't want anything. They're not going to go to our events. But those are the business leaders that replenish our leadership down the road. They're going to be a board of director in a year or two. Those are the companies that ultimately will sponsor our opportunities and events. And those are the business owners that, they're hard to reach. They're hard to connect with. They're hard to influence and inspire to join. And often, because they don't need anything specifically, they fall under that category of a mission member. And with a simple definition, it's those companies, those business leaders that support us based on what we do and why we do it, not necessarily what they get in terms of a direct benefit by becoming a member.
Great. Mission member, that's such a powerful statement. Yet the world has changed so much just in a very short period of time. Has the definition, or how subtleties surrounding what a mission member is, has that changed at all over the past year?
What has changed, which is counterintuitive, is that when I say we, I'm referring to those that I work with directly. We are recruiting more mission members now than ever before. And that includes what I categorize as next generation business leaders. So the new up and coming business leaders, and not specifically Gen X or Gen Y, but more those business leaders that have that philosophy of doing things in a new and different way. They don't do things just because it's the way it has always been done. These are the folks that want to break through the status quo, which includes those next gen business leaders. My point is, they're joining more so now based on our mission and what we do than for any other reason. People truly want to be part of and support organizations that they believe in. There is simply too much competition out there for their dollars, for their marketing dollars, for their PR dollars, sponsorship dollars. So if we try to compete in that arena by itself, we lose, because these for-profit companies are doing it better and have far more resources than we do as an organization. So to your question, what changes? On the positive front, more so are joining for mission now than ever before. I get a lot of execs that that have the opinion or philosophy that business leaders don't join based on mission the way that they used to. And I respectfully but fully disagree with that statement. It's funny because I often tell the folks that I work with, selling mission is really easy. Learning how to sell mission is incredibly difficult. And it's because it means so many different things to different people. And obviously, I'm not talking about just reciting a mission statement or a vision statement for the organization, but really getting into the philosophy of what mission means. How does it impact them? How does it affect them? What is the significance to their operation, not just today, but a year from now or 5 years from now? The companies that we approach and engage in conversation about mission are companies that have typically millions of dollars invested within their business community, their city, their state, their region, their province, whatever the case may be. So for these potential new members to support us at that insignificant, in my opinion, dollar amount that it costs them to join, that's, I'll go back to that word insignificant. It's not a lot of money to protect or to help protect that investment. And, one of the bumper sticker quotes that I think is just so appropriate when it comes to mission, and I repeat the fact that this would be a bumper sticker statement, it's a rising tide lifts all boats. And an interesting tidbit about that quote that so many people don't know, it was originally attributed to John F. Kennedy, who his speechwriter confesses or shares the fact that it was a slogan that they borrowed from a chamber of commerce back east. So we are the originators of that rising tide lifts all boats. But that cuts to the core of mission. And that's the silver lining of the pandemic. There is a greater appreciation for what we do, why we do it, and how we do it than ever before. Business leaders, they get it. We're all connected, whether we want to be or not. So to support our organization, to support our mission, vision, goals, and objectives is truly benefiting them as a company and an operation. So in every sense of the word, it's a symbiotic relationship.
Well, that's a great answer, Jim, and leads me to another thing that kind of relates to that. How do sales professionals, or I guess representatives and associations, what type of mission mindset, what is a mission mindset that will attract those types of individuals in both their membership and in their volunteer base?
I love that question because it gives me an opportunity to share a little philosophy. And it's the fact that I don't consider membership development to be sales at all, which is why out of the 600 or so folks that I've hired over the years, over 80% of them have no classically trained sales experience. They come out of other sectors, they come out of other industries, and make no mistake, they are exceptional communicators, but they believe in the mission themselves. They believe in the mission, goals, and objectives of the organization. And obviously, they're proud to represent the organization. But they take great pride in reaching out to identify like-minded business people. But going back to the philosophy, Lex, I don't consider it sales at all, because what we are doing is reaching out and asking business leaders to support the work that we're already doing on their behalf. And that is truly a different mindset. It's looking at things through a different lens than going out there trying to, quote unquote, sell memberships. And the beauty of mission members, in addition to the fact that right now it is inspiring more business leaders to join, it's the fact that they have an incredibly high natural retention rate. If somebody is joining to support the mission, goals, vision, and objectives, they're going to typically have a 90% retention rate or higher. And if we go back to our days at AWB here in Washington, the way that we won those awards, both in terms of recruiting, but more specifically as it relates to the high retention numbers, is because of the fact we were recruiting the right members for the right reason. And that had that natural retention rate of a 90% or higher. And that alone, gosh, we could talk about that for the next 8 hours by itself, because there's a lot of strategy, there's a lot of direct courses of action in order to recruit those kind of companies to begin with.
Well, leading to retention, I've been blessed with the last two organizations I've been a part of, AWB and the Washington Hospitality Association, where the retention has been high because of the mission philosophy and approaching new members and keeping members. However, I also am able to see other associations who don't necessarily do it the way we do, mistakes that they come across. And they end up losing potentially great lifelong members. What are some of the biggest errors and pitfalls you see organizations do that lose mission members down the line?
Wow, a great question. And I don't know that I have all the answers, but if I were to offer a couple of key points, it's obviously recruiting them for the right reasons, but then making sure to document that vital information, as well as communicating with that mission member on a regular basis so that we can talk about our accomplishments. We can actually give them skin in the game. We can make them feel as though they are truly part of, because they are, those things that we accomplish collectively as an organization. Now, that in itself is a bit of a quandary and a challenge, because communicating with our members is more challenging than ever before. Obviously, with the pandemic, we're not seeing them, those that are personally active at our events, but members and non-members alike are subjected to more information than ever before in history. So, an interesting piece of data, the average member for any of our organizations, whether you're a chamber of commerce or a trade group or other type of organization, statistically, they are members of at least 3 or more other organizations. So while we may not be competing against one another in the traditional or typical sense, we are by virtue of the fact that they're getting information now from 4 different organizations. So extrapolate that out. They're probably getting half a dozen or more newsletters every single month. And the surveying and the data that I have recently done is they're not reading all of those. They don't have time. Then you bring into the equation the fact that we have an incredibly tight workforce right now. Most of these companies, our members that is, are understaffed. So how we communicate with them, how we share our victories and our accomplishments is going to be the big challenge moving forward. And, we talk about social media, which is fantastic. It's a great way to communicate. We would all be in agreement on that. But with many of our members, the person who makes the decision about joining or about renewing, many of them, I might even go as far as saying most of them, are not on social media. Their companies are. But if you want to connect with the CEO or a president of a mid-sized to larger company, they're not on Twitter. They're not on Facebook. They're not on LinkedIn. So sending them emails are not as effective as they used to be. Social media may or may not be effective. And but I guess circling back to your question, Lex, in articulating mission, it's making sure that at point of sale, when that person joins, that we document all of that critical information into our database. As you well know, I am not a proponent of the check boxes that are on an application indicating why a person joins. And we've all seen them. Those, in my opinion, died out in the 80s. That information is worthless. It's useless. What is relevant is having the frontline membership representative or at the point of sale or shortly thereafter, really rolling up our sleeves and talking to that member so that we can fully understand, we can fully appreciate what it is they hope to gain, what it is they're looking for, what are their expectations, because that is how we retain members.
That's a great point, Jim. And one other thing too that I see is from an association side is I see other associations lose their mission, lose their, they get misguided because they need to meet the numbers, because they're losing staff for whatever reason. They forget that the reason that they are here is to serve the industry, and in turn they lose a lot of mission members that way because they've kind of veered off their path a bit, because it's easy to do in the middle of a pandemic when you're struggling and when your staff is 50% smaller and your membership base is 50% smaller. It's easy for those folks to lose their sight, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's staying focused on mission or our core objectives and philosophy is not always easy. And in addition to that, it's easy to fall back into that mindset of selling members, which oftentimes leads to the bells and the perks that somebody's going to gain by becoming a member. To me, those are ancillary. To me, those are defined as incentives to join not the reason to join. Something that I have been saying since pretty much day one is our mission, goals, vision, and objectives are the reason to join, and the bells and whistles are incentives to join. And what so many organizations and execs and membership professionals do is they flip those two around. They go out there and they sell the perks. And oh, by the way, an afterthought is, we're doing great things on behalf of the business community, which is to me the flip of the way that they should be doing it. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, and the data clearly supports it, the membership professionals that are out there recruiting based on the reason, the mission, goals, vision, and objectives, not only do they end up with higher retention numbers, but they're going to outsell that salesperson 3 or 4 to 1. And these are the folks that over the course of the pandemic have been consistent. And in several cases, they've recruited more new members during the pandemic than they did before. So for those that have adjusted and adapted and learned how over time to sell mission, and I use that word sell loosely, they're the ones that are going to continue to thrive in our new economy moving forward.
Yeah, I've certainly seen that where a lot of our representatives are just getting a lot of new members, more than they've ever had before. So we're almost out of time here, Jim. Any final thoughts regarding mission, regarding membership, regarding associations that you'd like to share with us?
I think it's just reiterating the fact that this is an amazing time because of the environment in which our members and potential members appreciate what we do. There's a greater recognition for the important role that we serve, and they get it. They understand that. It's been obvious to everybody now because the pandemic has touched and affected absolutely everybody, how interconnected we are. And just because we may be in a different business sector, or for those companies that they may not even do business locally, they're certainly impacted by what happens on a local basis. So this is our window of opportunity because of those short attention spans and due to the fact that memories are short-lived. And this is the time, as they say, to seize the day.